Okay, this is a much later diagram. This diagram could have found a place in this exhibition. It's an 18th or 19th century diagram, and it shows a sort of figure that's similar to the one that we saw behind, except that this one is sitting in the traditional lotus posture. And you see that he has his eyes closed in meditation, and he has a number of flower-like things running up his central axis. And this relates to the other figure in the sense that the other figure, in the posture in which he sits, is actually doing a certain exercise that has been that has come down to us. And even today, you find, even here in Los Angeles, yoga schools and yoga studios teach a set of asanas or physical yoga exercises that are geared towards pressing up on the spine through the buttocks and, through sometimes very painful processes that are supposed to release or liberate some kind of energy that shoots up the spine and feels a sense of release up here on the top of the head. And this kind of a process is connected with the opening up of certain centers of power that these people believe exist along the central axis, or the chakras. Okay, so this is a diagram of these chakras or axes. Now, you see that the diagram actually contains very specific types of flower shapes and forms, and even words connected with them. And so this is an entire kind of field and colors. These colors are also significant. So you'll find color, shape, form, letters, words, all converging to give a certain kind of a description of these centers of power. Now, this kind of a depiction of representation is supposed to be sort of, pre-linguistic. In other words, that's the claim that these diagrams have been arrived at through experiences. And so when one contemplates these figures, if they're blown up, one would possibly have some kind of direct experience of those particular kinds of consciousness embodied there. Okay? The one other thing that is necessary to mention about Tantra is the physical aspect of it, the embodied aspect of it. It's a spirituality in the flesh. And so there is also a sexual aspect to it. And that's why we found that sort of figure over there with an erection. Now, what exactly sexuality means in the context of Tantra is, again, a wide field. It kind of ranges from abstinence to ritual sex. And all these are kind of, sort of various forms of tantric sort of utilization of sexual energy to open up these kinds of experiences. Now, very early, some of these ideas become formalized in terms of symbols. And one of the most primal of these symbols is the linga or the phallus and the vagina or the yoni. And here we see the two in a kind of very stylized form. This is the linga, and linga gets associated with the Hindu god Shiva. Shiva is represented as the linga as a kind of infinite creative potential. So it's like it's an erect phallus in the sense that it has the potential to create, but it is never it's always, never exhausted, in other words. And it sits in close association with the receptacle of the yoni, and that is the female vagina, and that's sometimes stylistically depicted as a triangle. Of course, we'll find in tantric diagrams that even the linga is depicted sometimes as a triangle, and that's the abstraction where you have two intersecting triangles, the upward pointing one being the male and the downward pointing one being the female. Now, this entire sort of practice, cult, sect, if you want to call it, is a kind of direction of Hinduism that follows after the worship of the female principle. So it's mother goddess worship or Devi worship. And the primary goddess connected with Tantra is Kali. And Shiva is her sort of, male counterpart. So Kali is the female goddess. And this is a folk depiction of Kali. We are actually very, very close to the period of Kali worship in India. It's going to happen this weekend, in fact. So it's interesting that talk is coming up at this particular juncture in time. So Kali is a fierce goddess because her primary aspect is power, and she has skulls around her neck and in her hand, because she sort of cuts at all the sort of bondages that keep us tied up to our sort of normal selves. And here you can't see because she's all dressed up, but she stands on top of a supine corpse, which is actually Shiva sleeping. So there is a funny pun that they make in Tantra, and they say that Shiva is Shava. Shava literally in Sanskrit means the corpse. But the letter E added to the corpse, and E stands for Devi in the mantric tradition, makes him alive, makes him come alive. So this is a certain kind of a inseparability of the male and female principles kind of thing. And so it's seen as if the two are always together, and one gives energy to the other, while the other sort of, gives ground or foundation to the power. Okay. The interesting part about this cult, the whole cult of Tantra, is that it reverses the positions and puts the female on top of the male. And this is sometimes even depicted sexually. Now, Kali worship is pervasive in India and to this day, and it goes into all levels of society. Here you can see a taxi driver is kind of lighting a sort of stick of incense to Kali before he begins his daily job of driving the taxi. Here is Kali standing with her four hands, a skull, a necklace of skulls, and that is the supine Shiva on which he is standing. This, sort of physical or figurative representation is then given geometric or formal representation in the art of Tantra. Now, we saw one example of a sort of tantric, sort of in that picture where I showed you the image of Kali. But tantric sadhus or tantric practitioners or renunciants are sometimes very exotic looking. And this is one example. You can see that they're kind of clad in colors which are sometimes very, provocative.